Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Glad to be back here with you on a Saturday. Obviously, it's been a busy week, one that, again, it's Stampede down here in the Calgary area, and of course, that always means unpredictability when it comes to the 9 to 5. But it also means unpredictability to when you get off work and you check your phone and somebody's hit you up to say, let's go do something stupid. So, obviously, the Oilers, in the meanwhile, have had a semi-busy week since we last talked about Ike Howard joining the team for Sam O'Reilly. So, kind of want to catch up on all of that and discuss some of the finer points I think coming out of it here for the Oilers over the next several weeks, or really what could be the next several days, right? And I think we were supposed to have an announcement sometime this past week on coaching staff. Instead, kind of the under the table announcement was that Kris Knoblauch's now in the interview process. So we'll discuss that and more in a matter of moments. But if you are new to the channel, friends, I encourage you. I know I've taken a minute to get there, but I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. I appreciate everybody that has. We're closing in on 18,000 subscribers here on Dolynny TV. That's a number we've been battling uphill for all year long. That's my fault, not yours. So appreciate your help along the way. Now for the Oilers, what do we know? Ike Howard this past week, goaltending coach is a big discussion. Obviously, Glenn Gulutzan a while back joined the Dallas Stars. Jason Gregor updated us on something that also happened with the Dallas Stars. And there's something else about a skills coach we might have to discuss. So let's get to it, shall we? Goalie coach, this one coming on an update from yesterday and kind of updated a little bit today as well, as the Oilers have spoken to several candidates for the goalie coach position. Jeff Saleko is an internal candidate, Stephen Waite, Sylvain Rodrigue, Pete Aubry, Adam Francilla are rumored to be interested, and then of course Justin Cardinal, a name to keep an eye on as well. So really this is just kind of the closest thing to the full list of potential guys I could find, and of course Patrick retweeted it right just in time for the video, so piqued my curiosity and thought I'd bring up all the names that are potentially involved. Again, for those of you that know kind of what's going on here with goalie coach, maybe more so even than I do, this one will explain it a little easier for you. As Pelche, again, when I'm talking about the Dallas Stars, has joined Gulutzan in Dallas. Pelche was our skating coach for that last little while. Schwartz obviously not re-signed. And then it's, according to Jason Gregor at this point, this was the big news yesterday, it's unlikely that Paul Coffey returns to the bench. Again, like I said, his job is probably about the best out of the worst of them last year, right? The power play kind of sucked. The penalty kill kind of sucked. And, of course, the goaltending department sucked. At least the defense at times was way better than we would ever want to give it credit for. And that was, again, under Paul Coffey. So, yeah, kind of sucks to lose a guy that's now been on your bench for 2 years and kind of stabilized a back end that was a big question mark several years ago. But again, Paul Coffey was never long for the job. We knew that, and it's good to see that. Kris Knoblauch will get to run his own full bench, potentially without somebody from Kate's upper echelon of the organization standing next to him. I'm not saying that at all was interference and a reason why we didn't win the cup or anything. I'm just saying that's kind of what the design with Paul Coffey going down there was, to kind of help out a rookie head coach and give some stability to a back end that, again, desperately needed it. Now, Mark Stewart will be retained. So, that's good news there. I guess, again, I thought it was more likely Coffey would return rather than Stewart. But Stewart, again, maybe a victim of the roster shuffles when it comes to the penalty kill, as opposed to, a victim of just poor coaching. So I guess that's fair enough. I really can't complain about that one too much. So in summary, Gregor summarizes 2 new assistants, a goalie coach, and a skating and or skills coach. So the other side is the Oilers did make mention in the offseason, right after the playoffs ended, that they were looking to add a skills coach. And this is the update, as I said yesterday. Knoblauch is doing interviews as of now. The goalie coach shortlist has Rodrigue and Aubry. So we kind of saw the other names there a few moments ago. So for the Oilers, it's a situation where there's a lot of turnover this year, roster-wise, but also bench-wise. And this is a team that's been to the Stanley Cup Finals twice in a row and hasn't gotten it done. So justified or not, it's kind of interesting to see that our players are only getting more mature, only more, seasoned for the playoffs year in, year out. I think, you had a more mature game at times from Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You might want to blame him a little bit in the Stanley Cup final as you did last year, but I think it was a more mature, more focused situation through the first 3 rounds than maybe it has been in the last several playoffs from our bigger players. And obviously losing Zach Hyman plays a big part in that, so that's where I want to kind of take a look at the roster turnover and what Bob Stauffer put out 3 days ago. Again, this was kind of a few days back when I didn't have a chance to get to things, so my apologies. But obviously Bob Stauffer kind of throwing something out there just to get everybody going, more or less, just kind of talking about what the Oilers could potentially do here. And obviously with Ike Howard, McDavid, and Hyman, that sounds like a pretty good line, especially with Ike Howard being a guy that's new, fast, and possibly really only slots in on the top line, given the fact that Podkolzin, Draisaitl, and Mangiapane are looking to be your de facto second line out of camp. Frederic, RNH, Savoy, I think that one makes sense as well now with the addition of Ike Howard, and especially giving RNH 2 guys that are going to go into the corners hard, going to go in and try and win battles, and going to come up with the puck more often than not. That will allow for a lot more offense out of a third line that at times last year was just a black hole in the Oilers lineup, similar to the fourth line, depending where you slotted guys in the Oilers lineup. So for the Oilers, obviously, if you would have had Kane last year, the third line might not have been as much of a black hole. Now, all of a sudden, this year, you've got Frederic down there, and that should allow RNH to work his magic, running his own line alongside Matt Savoy. You kind of see this. I exactly see where Bob Stauffer is going. Janmark, Henrique, Kapanen, Lazar, Tomaszek. We know those are the prime 5 candidates to bust camp on the bottom line for the Edmonton Oilers. Now, there's something interesting there. The defense, I wouldn't worry about the defense at all. Stetcher and Emerson will kind of take their turns rotating in and out. And other than that, as long as everybody stays healthy, you've got it where it is. And this goaltending is what it is as well. So keep that in mind for at least right now. There are really no battles. It's just, again, Ike Howard's going to win his job on the top line. So that's where you just go out there and perform exactly to expectation, and you'll be there for him. And for Matt Savoy, you go out there and just, prove that you belong, and you'll have a spot guaranteed on the third line. I think that much is obvious from the way Bob writes those lines. So what really comes down to in camp is a couple of things, is the actual fourth line center battle this year. You've got Lazar, you've got Tomaszek, you've got Henrique, you've got, of course, Noah Philp, you've got even really a sneaky good camp from a healthy James Hamblin. Could really, really mess things up for the Edmonton Oilers at training camp. And again, I know you hear me every so often mention the name James Hamblin. There's a dang reason, friends. Big fan of the guy. Big fan. Great guy. Great guy to have in Bakersfield, but would love to see him get some NHL time. And then, of course, the depth forwards with potential. So not only if you don't win the fourth line center battle, do you end up sticking around just simply because you have offensive upside, you have some speed, you have some size, you have some ability, and obviously for the Oilers, whatever they want to do on that bottom line to make it the most effective compared to the top 9, the new look top 9 this year, it'll come down to the guys with the most capabilities in all facets of their game. And then 21-year-olds in the top 9. This is where this is absolutely pivotal, friends. The Oilers lost youth last year in the summer, obviously losing Broberg and Holloway. Instead, now this year you trade a guy that was maybe 2-3 years off to being an NHL full-timer who would essentially replace RNH, that being Sam O'Reilly. Ike Howard comes in and should immediately slot in at least bare minimum your top 6. And Matt Savoy, who you traded Ryan McLeod for, who's now making $5 million big bucks in Buffalo, slots in at 21 years old to slide in on your third line and produce. So I like where the Oilers are going. I like the ability and the possibilities we have in this lineup, and it's going to be exciting to see what the Oilers can truly do here over the next month. I guess it would be, it's the 12th here, so really the next month is probably where the Oilers will do the last bits of their work for the roster. or they'll just shore up the coaching staff and then, similar to last year, without the offer sheet thread, do the roster as well. The one thing I will mention about Rodrigue being a goalie coach shortlist, not being Sylvain, I wonder if, I don't know what's going on with Ollie right now, but I wonder if Ollie finds a way back to the organization here, or just, the Oilers choose to do something different because of not having Ollie here. So I know it's a good news from my perspective, to have Sylvain on the short list, just because he should have been up here. At the same time, you canned Jack Campbell from the NHL. Sylvain Rodrigue should have been promoted, and Dustin Schwartz should have been fired. But that is what it is. We've now moved on all this time later, and the Oilers, well, they'll have to see what happens here over the next few weeks as Kris Knoblauch makes the final decisions on his coaching staff. Friends, thank you so much for being aboard. For right now, though, I am up on out of here. Enjoy your Saturday. Unless there's anything else that comes of the news today, I am up on out of here for the rest of the day.